'tis the season to be Irish.
Oh. So stupid. Oh my god. You and I, like, we can write these movies. Like, can we get somebody, like, we'll film it right in Connecticut.
I think the rumor is that Melissa Joan Hart writes a lot of these.
Jeez, that explains it all.
But I honestly, I would love to write one of these movies. What a dream.
Nice. Nerdy and nice. See what I did there? Welcome, everybody, to Nerdy and Nice. We are here to talk to you about all the things we love in movies, TV, and pop culture outside of a galaxy far, far away. If you do want to hear our thoughts on Star Wars, you know where to find us on the Resistance broadcast. So please follow and subscribe to TRB wherever you prefer. But this is Nerdy and Nice, and it's time to talk about all the other stuff we have going on. I'm John, and that is Lacey. And how you doing, Lacey? How are you?
I'm good. You know, we're pretty much in holiday time now, which is my favorite time of year. I know this isn't a Star Wars show, but we're gearing up for Skeleton Crew, which is coming out next month. We're really excited about that. I have all these Hallmark movies to watch. It's just like, I am alive, John. I am alive.
It's the time to be alive. I know I'm about to talk about Superman just for a second, but before I do that, I'll show the people who are watching on video this. Look at this. So Lacey got this for me. I don't know if it was a just cuz or if it was a birthday thing, but
it was for being an awesome friend.
Yeah, so it's all the Batmobiles over time.
Nice.
And Johnny saw it and he's like, "Oh, you want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah,
no.
We'll play. We'll play."
You're gonna take him out?
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, John, people around the room or world are crying if you take those out of the box.
Well, I don't want to be like President Business.
Let him play with everything else.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. I can't even get it back in the box. There we go. All right. But yeah, so what Lacey got me was Long Live the Bat, which is the Hot Wheels collection, premium collection of all the Batmobiles across the franchise. So this isn't like a plug or anything. Literally, Lacey got this for me, and it's very cool. So thank you again for that. But in other DC superhero news, Lacey Gilleran, James Gunn, he has it, but he just won't give it to us yet. And we're talking about the trailer for Superman is on the hard drive of James Gunn as we speak. Someone's got to get him like drunk tonight, get him like put it out.
Imagine having that power. You're just walking around with the trailer for Superman.
Oh, I mean, I would probably be worried the whole time.
I know. Leave your bag somewhere.
Yeah. Or like when John Boyega left his script for Star Wars in the hotel or something like that.
Under the bed.
Yeah. So that could the trailer is imminent. I think it could be coming any time now. Maybe by the time this episode is out, maybe it's out. We have to do some special reaction because we're definitely going to react to the trailer.
Super Bowl. Superman at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so if he hangs on to it for 2 months, that'd be impressive. 2.5 months. Who knows?
Is there anything big coming out for them?
No.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you?
Yeah, could be. But keep your eye out anyway. Who knows when that's gonna drop? But James Gunn has the trailer for Superman. That thing is ready to roll, and I cannot wait. And Lacey, even you're getting excited for Superman too now, I feel like.
I'm so excited. To be honest, I'm excited to see it with you. I'm someone that really feeds off of other people's energy about things. I think that was why I was so hyped about Top Gun, because you were, and then I absolutely loved it. I love being in the room with other fans that love things. Or Celebration. I look forward to seeing that eventually with you. And I'm just excited for something that is going to have a hopeful, happy story. I feel like we've gotten very much into the gritty stuff over the years and the dark tales with like a sliver of hope. Like I need full blown happiness. Give me something to cheer for and have a great
Mhm.
time and enjoy my popcorn. And Deadpool and Wolverine did that for me. And before that was Top Gun Maverick. So I'm going 2 for 2 right now with fun movies, and I'm hoping Superman will be that next movie for me.
In James Gunn, I trust, so I am just so hyped on that. Are you?
Oh, Red One, that Santa movie that we joked about weeks ago that you said was going to be absolutely horrible, and I was like, no way, I'm totally going to love this. It is bombing. People hate this movie.
Mm,
Like worst.
that's the funny thing about The Rock, because
Yeah.
I just read a report today that Moana 2 is apparently really good, and they're expecting it to just make buckets of cash. So
Yeah,
it's like
so much money.
The Rock, like he'll have his misfires, but he's still gonna have his things that make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People love him.
Yeah, he's very popular. I guess it's just they're not gonna love everything he's in, but the things that he is in that's good, they're gonna go see and support.
Mhm.
But are people gonna go see this? So this is a series coming out from Phoebe Waller-Bridge, actually, I believe, and it is being reported that Game of Thrones alum, ex-wife of one of the Jonas Brothers now. I think.
They're separated. They're working through a divorce, yeah, unfortunately.
Well, Sophie Turner is reportedly going to be the next Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Did you? I know you were a big gamer. Did you play Tomb Raider? Was that on your?
I did back in the day. I had it on PS2. No, PS1, the original PlayStation.
Oh, so it was very blocky.
Yeah, she had the blocky boobs that looked like triangles. Every dude was like, "Nice."
Yeah,
Like,
that was that looked as real
jumping
as it
away
gets.
from wolves and stuff. Yeah, I had that game. I think my uncle gave it to me actually. Like he had it and then he gave it to us. But my Lara Croft, not to be that person, my Lara Croft is Angelina Jolie. So it's really hard for me to picture any other person playing that role when you start off with Angelina. Like she's top tier choice for that role. Like she is Lara Croft. So anytime now I see these, they had the recent movies, which I did watch, which were fine. The recent movie with what's her name? I forget her. She won an Oscar. I forget. Alessandra. Alicia
Alicia
Vikander.
Vikander. Yep.
She was fine. Like she was more of the video game version now, which is like a tough, very fit girl, whereas Angelina Jolie was more like the pixelated triangle boobed one from like the 90s.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's pulling on nostalgia for me right now, but I just love Angelina. So I can't see Sophie Turner in this role. I don't want to see Sophie Turner in this role. I would love to see some more up and coming people snag roles like this, because this is like career changing roles. And I feel like Sophie Turner already ruined Jean Grey for me. So I would love to see someone else do this role.
What about Kathleen Turner?
What?
Kathleen Turner.
Okay, I know you're joking. Continue on, please.
All right, honey. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Tomb Raider fan. I thought Sophie Turner was great in Game of Thrones. I wouldn't have expected her to play this role, but we'll see what they come up with. I don't know that I'll watch it, I'll be completely honest, but I hope it's good for Tomb Raider fans. I know the 2018 one you were talking about didn't land all that well, so we will see what happens there. But speaking of what happens, Lacey, what's happening?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
Lots of interesting news this week. Really different than what we've had in the past few months, which I felt has been like Marvel, DC, Disney, Marvel. So now we're getting into some other IP franchises and updates from them, which, all right, let's do it. Starting off at the top, we have James Bond producers discuss their search for the next 007. They released an article this week where they talked to the production team behind that, Barbara Broccoli, who's the producer who's heading up this whole thing. I remember kind of hilariously, they had this kind of casting for a James Bond project, and Brian Cox thought he was going to play the new villain and got all excited, and he signed on, and it was a reality TV show, and he totally got like lied to into this show.
Really?
Which is very funny. Yes, it was like a reality TV show on Amazon or something.
What do you remember what it was called?
The Next Million for James Bond or something like that.
And
You could
Brian
probably
Cox got roped into it?
He thought he was the villain of the next James Bond. They were like, "Oh, you want to be on the next James Bond?" And he was the host of the show because he got roped into it.
When was this?
Like last year.
Holy cow. I gotta watch that.
Yeah. So it was just very funny. And he gave an interview where he was like honest and was like, "Look, I thought this was a movie. I was like hyped that I was going to be the next villain. And here I am doing a reality TV show."
They should give it to him now because he's a great actor.
He really is. He really is. But that's kind of my sum up of where it is right now. But the team has released through this article, they kind of summed up where that franchise is at, where they have the production team and they, there's been a fan casting of Idris Elba, another couple young actors going for it. A lot of people wanted Aaron Taylor Johnson. But they keep saying it's a big decision. They don't want to rush it. But at the same time, these movies were getting released in the 90s, like what, every 2 years, 3 years? It was like a constant, hey, you were always having a James Bond movie. And
there
it
was a big gap for a while, but then Pierce Brosnan churned out a bunch. Yeah.
Churned it out, which don't even get me started on that, because Pierce Brosnan found out in the worst way possible. He was walking down this a hallway in a studio and they were like, "Hey, I heard they got a new James Bond." And he was like, "What?" No one told him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I saw a picture of him recently and really think they should do an old James Bond.
That'd be
comes
cool.
back. It would be so cool to have him do that. So they would never consider it. I think they're going in a completely different direction. But they've basically said that they're looking for someone in their 30s. They're open to someone white or not. And they're just trying to figure out what's the right fit. But I can't help but think that they have no idea what they're doing. And this is coming from my own kind of keeping tabs on this, because my husband is a gigantic James Bond fan, has all the books, loves all the movies. He listens to the soundtracks all the time. He is the biggest James Bond fan. He used to wear James Bond cologne all the time, and they stopped making it. And he's thoroughly distraught about it.
Wait, what does that mean?
What do you mean?
It's supposed to be the cologne that James Bond wears.
Yeah, it's one that they put out with, I think, Daniel. Do I always say his name wrong? Daniel Craig, right? Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Craig. That's it.
I always get him confused with Craig David. Daniel Craig. They put out a cologne with him.
Who's Craig David?
He's a singer from the early 2000s that did pop songs from England.
Oh.
Whatever. Daniel Craig, they put out a cologne with kind of during his run, I think. It smells very good. It was a great cologne, but they stopped making it because they're not making the movies anymore, and they just the contract's over. So he's very upset about it. But that being said, I am very in tune with any type of news that comes across about this IP, about this franchise. And I have to tell you, being a Star Wars fan and being a James Bond fan is not easy, because they're both very messy right now. So before I continue on my rambling, John, what are your thoughts on this? Are you okay with them taking their time? Do you think they have a plan, or do you think they're just kind of winging it?
Well, the first thing out of the gate that I noticed was Idris Elba is out because he's in his 50s, and Broccoli said that this person's going to be in their 30s. Daniel Craig was, I believe, 37 or 38 in Casino Royale. And they want somebody in that range for the next, for 10 years, from late 30s to, late 40s. They seem to not like older Bonds, like you were saying. That's why, we're not going to get that older Pierce Brosnan.
I think we should, but they won't.
I think it'd be cool if they did something where 006 had a kid and he's out for revenge on James Bond. Tie it back to GoldenEye, but they seem to cut you off around 50. I think Roger Moore may have pushed the envelope, but they like that range. And they said it will be a man. I know there was people wondering like, well, will they make James Bond a woman and do that thing that was trending for a while?
Well,
where
because the last movie 007 was a woman because they thought he was dead or then he retired.
was that what it was?
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
007 and she was
Oh,
a woman. So then they tried to make it like, oh, it's a number, but it's not. It's a person.
yeah, they got too cute with that, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, so what's funny though about James Bond, like the announcement of who's the next James Bond, like we always talk about that with Batman, but James Bond is like the ultimate with that. It is an event to find out who the next James Bond is. It's almost as big as when the movies come out. Like
Mhm, mhm.
people go crazy. Like, it's like when they announce like the new pope and there's smoke coming out of the thing. Like people are like James Bond, they're announcing the next James Bond. Run to the Senate Town Square. They're announcing the next James Bond. And it's just like it's absolutely crazy how nuts people get. But it's just like Batman or other roles because when they did announce Daniel Craig, people were like, "Oh, a blonde James
He's
Bond,
blonde,
like,
yeah.
who is this guy? Doesn't look like James Bond," and then it becomes the highest grossing version of James Bond. So, and like Heath Ledger with the Joker, people are like, "Oh God, the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You. This is so stupid. Christopher Nolan's so stupid. He's woke." And then they're like, "He's the greatest Joker of all time." So,
Mhm.
whoever it is, there's a chance you might not like. I'm talking the audience might not like who the next James Bond is, but let's see him in action, and it's going to be a man in his 30s, and that's all we know. But
I hope it's Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he would do a good job.
he would probably be good. Yeah. So I always like James Bond movies. I'm not as big of a fan as your husband is, but I always am down to check out a James Bond movie when it comes out. They're always fun, and I'm curious to see who lands the dream gig. I know people are also pushing for Henry Cavill, but bad news there. Henry Cavill's 41, so
He
Henry's
just
out
had a
too.
kid too. I don't know if he's gonna take
I
that
know,
on.
but I mean, we could start really ruling people out now.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
could probably rule out like Zac Efron and those types of guys. It's gonna be
Yeah, no. It's gonna
Jonah
be
Hill, probably no.
I know Aaron Taylor Johnson is not British, but I would assume they would try to get someone British,
Yeah.
maybe? I don't
Where's
know.
he from? I thought he was British.
Is he? I thought he was from the US.
Oh, we're about to find out.
I guess so. Regardless, it just seems really messy, and it made me laugh because I know 2 years ago we were talking about on TRB about how Kathleen Kennedy was doing an interview, and she was like, "Well, Star Wars movies are like James Bond movies. They're like events, and people wait for them, and it's a big thing at the movie theater." And I'm like, "This is a terrible franchise to relate to right now because they're both super messy. Like they just seem like they don't have a plan. They don't know what they're doing." They both finished their franchises in a spot that they're like, okay, what now? And it's
Mhm.
been years now.
Yep.
And then, especially with James Bond, it was just handled so poorly because it was supposed to come out during COVID. And they could have released it digitally, but they didn't. They were like, no, it's got to go in theater. So then they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then eventually it came out and it didn't do as well as they wanted it to because people had forgotten about it. Just like right now, like no one really I would say Gen Z doesn't know who James Bond is or younger because it hasn't come out for so long.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
I'm
not
always
the
surprised.
impact that it had with our age group where it was like a mainstay pop culture icon is James Bond.
Yeah, I'm always surprised at what some young people don't know. I watched some video the other day, and people were like younger kids were being shown, like late teens, I guess, being shown photos of famous people, and they couldn't pin who it was, like famous actors and stuff. Um, so
Mhm.
yeah, you never know. Um, I think people will still turn out for Bond. I think that's still a marketable franchise because they do what Star Wars used to do. It does feel like it's an event because Bond comes for like 10 years and then he goes away and then they
Mhm.
bring Bond back. It's not always Bond, 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 Bond. So yeah, it's going to
We'll
be
see.
interesting. We'll see.
Um, Continuing on with kind of another pop culture staple, I would say, is like the big top 10 things in pop culture would be the Harry Potter TV series is moving forward with Warner Brothers. I believe HBO is where it's supposed to come out, right? Yeah, HBO. So they're adapting the books into a TV series. So everything you know about the movies forget that. This is something completely different. And they're eyeing Mark Rylance for Dumbledore. He has been in a couple period dramas like Wolf Hall, The Mirror and the Light. I don't know what that is. But a couple other things. I've seen his face before, but I'm interested to see because it's really, I'm going to be that lame person this episode, but it's really hard to top Richard Harris. He was like a dream Dumbledore. And I didn't like the guy that they then replaced him with either.
Oh, I liked Michael Gambon. I thought he was great.
We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago when they announced this book series that's or TV series off the books.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I said I didn't like the Dumbledores, and you were like, "Oh, I liked him. Why didn't you like him?" And I said it's because Dumbledore would have never yelled at Harry in the Goblet of Fire, where he put his name in the goblet. Like that whole scene where Dumbledore's yelling at him, he doesn't do that in the book. It goes against everything that Dumbledore stands for.
Well, that's not the actor's fault. The director's like, "This is what I want you to do," and he's like, "You got it, pal."
I would say it's a double responsibility because if an actor feels strongly about something and doesn't want to do it, they won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't agree with that. But this guy looks like he could be a good Dumbledore. I can see it in the eyes and the eyebrows. He's got kind of some like bushy eyebrows, old man eyebrows.
Just don't yell.
It's did you read the whole series?
They made books out of those movies?
Oh my God, you made this joke last time. Did you read the books?
No.
Okay. In the books, Dumbledore is like this wise old man who's calm and understanding. And like, despite all the craziness around him and all the terrible things and, you know, the urgency of the times with Voldemort coming back, he still remained a constant energy of things will work out the way they're supposed to work out. Everything's gonna be okay. So that's the energy that needs to come to the character. You can't have someone that's like wiling out, yelling at kids.
Yeah, but what was he doing? He was throwing the goblet into the fire?
Someone put Harry's name into the Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Harry couldn't put his name in because he wasn't old enough.
Right.
He would have been bewitched or whatever from the cup.
Yeah.
So when his name came out of the cup, Dumbledore freaked out because he was like, how did you get your name in there? And Harry didn't put his name in there because someone was sabotaging him. But Dumbledore in the book doesn't freak out. He watches and observes and is trying to understand what happened. And then in the movie version, that guy freaks out. He's like yelling at Harry and grabs him by the front of his robes and everything. He's like, why would you do this? And like, that's not Dumbledore. It was very jarring.
But apparently it was Dumbledore.
No, it wasn't. I don't agree. But I am very interested to see what they do with this series. I think they can go with, you know, a ton of different ways with characters. It's really cool that they'll be able to expand more on a lot of stuff that they didn't show in the movies because it's a series, so they can kind of extend the storytelling. I don't know this guy very well, Mark Rylance, but I know of him. I've seen him before. Have you seen him in anything?
I was trying to I mean, I have, but I only know because I saw like, oh, he was in this, you know, so like Dunkirk, he's in that. I'd have to rewatch to point him out.
Right.
He's in Ready Player One, but I don't.
That's what it was.
Oh yeah, okay.
He's in Ready Player One. He plays the Dumbledore-ish character in Ready Player One.
Oh well, there you go.
He plays like the guy that invented the Oasis that comes back and speaks through the game to the main character.
Oh right, okay. He was also in BFG, and he was nominated for an Oscar for Bridge of Spies with the.
Got it. Yeah, he was James Holiday in Ready Player One, which Ready Player One is an amazing book. Loved that book. Movie was okay. It was all right. They tried to make it, I think, like a Harry Potter thing, but the problem is that there were so many references in that book that couldn't work out like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I feel like in the last 2 minutes, you've given us 2 examples that you're a book snob.
I kind of am, I guess. I didn't realize that until now. This has been a very eye-opening experience in the show.
So how many people have you annoyed by saying, have you read the book? That's what you have to think about now.
No one. I have no friends.
I mean, you just asked me if I read the Harry Potter.
you.
Oh,
So just you. So one.
I'm the only friend.
Yeah.
Sorry, Santos. You're out.
No, but in all seriousness, like, I really hope this series is good. I will be watching it. I'm very excited for it. I'm interested in his take of Dumbledore. I just hope that he goes more of the Richard Harris route for Dumbledore rather than the other guy.
I think everything will work out just fine.
All right. Did you have anything else to add to that, or did you just want to hear me ramble?
No, I mean, I'll watch this series because I like the Harry Potter movies, and
Yeah.
I could see myself. I'm sure it's going to be one of those Sunday night 9 p.m. The new episode
Mhm.
comes out type of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't have much else to add. I'm sure he will do great. He clearly is a top tier actor if he's getting nominated for Oscars in a movie where he's acting alongside Tom Hanks in Bridge of Spies. So that's really all you need. Let the makeup department take care of the rest. Keep your voice at a moderate tone, and away we go.
Mhm. Nice. Agreed. All good points. I was just laughing to myself because this next story is Ted Lasso star Phil Dunster joins Steve Carell in the HBO comedy that's coming out, which we've talked about before here on the show. But I was laughing because in my head I thought Phil Dunphy from Modern
Oh, yeah.
Family, and I was just kind of laughing to myself. I was like, Phil Dunphy. But yeah, so the series takes place. It's a 10-episode, half-hour comedy for HBO on a college campus that centers on an author's complicated relationship with his daughter. And the roles have not been revealed. If I was to guess right now, I feel like this guy is going to be the love interest of the daughter.
Yeah, probably.
Because that's who he played on Ted Lasso, is the love
Mhm.
interest that's kind of dumb, but like a little
So,
charming, misunderstood.
sort of like Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell. His
Yes.
daughter's dating this guy, and he doesn't like the idea because he was friends with him. But that everything about this is set up for success, though. Like Steve Carell, I thought was unstoppable until they made Space Force.
Oh my gosh, Space Force.
That is one, and with the talent, John Malkovich, Ben Schwartz, Steve
I know.
Carell, like
Too much.
the talent in that show, like it should have been good, but it
It was not.
it was one of the worst shows I've ever watched. I didn't even watch the second season. I don't even know if that came out.
I
So
think I only watched 2 episodes and I was like, I can't watch this.
like the voice he was putting on was stupid. It was just that Space Force was horrible. And then I realized it's like in Rocky 4, like the Russians cut. And it's like, wow, so Steve Carell can really give us a big misfire on TV. Who would have thought? But now you have Bill Lawrence, who is one of the greatest television show creators of all time. We talked about it with Ted Lasso, Cougar Town, Shrinking, which is out now with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel, Scrubs,
He can't miss.
Spin City. Like the guy is a beast. And then you add Phil Dunster, who is popular. A lot of young people like him. He's right off of the success of Ted Lasso. His character had a nice arc on that show. He may even come back for that. Who knows? At some point. And then you have Steve Carell, and he's clearly going to have good writers because he's got Bill Lawrence. And it's going to HBO, so you know the budget's going to be good because HBO just dumps cash into their shows. This is, I have my eye on this one. I think this is going to be a really good series, so I'm down to check it out. What's it called? What's the name of it? I don't even care what it's called.
I don't think they've named it yet.
Oh.
I think they just have the concept out there, like they just announced.
Oh yeah, Untitled Project.
Yeah, it's just a single camera comedy set on a college campus.
All right, so come up with the name for it right now.
College campus.
So you're in that holiday movie mode. Disappointed Author coming to HBO. All right. Well, it does look great.
It's probably some type of play on words of like higher education with a father-daughter relationship.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Will you watch this show?
I will give it a chance because it's Steve Carell and I adore him.
Okay, cool. I'm down with that. I can take that. Yeah, I don't have much else on this. How about you?
I don't have much else, but I know we have a bunch of trailers this week.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Oh God, I love that movie.
Trailers indeed, Lacey. Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, Beatles 64, and The Amateur. So we'll start with Mission Impossible. I see Final Reckoning, and I think that means this is the last Mission Impossible movie. I do know that Dead Reckoning Part 1 came out and didn't do as well as people thought it was going to do. This was supposed to be called Dead Reckoning Part 2, and Part 1 did so bad, they're like, getting rid of that naming convention. We're just calling this Final Reckoning, because I think if they put the word final in it, people are going to be like, this is the last Mission Impossible. I have to go see it. What do you think?
I think this is the last one Tom Cruise is doing. And the reason because there's been rumors circling that he's passing off the franchise to someone else, and he wants that person to be Glenn Powell. Which there was a rumor also going around that he gives like a cast gift of skydiving with him. And people were like, was this the longest con of figuring out who's going to take over your franchise? He has all these dudes go skydiving with, and whoever handles it best. But they did.
The only person he gives a parachute to gets the role.
Yeah, right. Everybody else dies.
Everyone else just dies.
It's the real Final Reckoning.
It's Squid Game Tom Cruise edition.
But they did. The rumor was circling around, and I know I'm going to mess up his name. What's it? Pat McAfee?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Former NFL punter for the Colts, Pat McAfee. Yeah.
I'm so proud of myself for getting his name right.
Think of the virus software. That's all.
Yeah, he was doing his live podcast and has Glenn Powell on speed dial, and he hilariously calls him and immediately yells out, "You're on live. You're live. It's live. We're live." Because Glenn starts talking, and then asks him, "Hey, this is the rumor. Is this true?" And he kind of pauses, Glenn Powell, and then he goes, "My mom would kill me if I took that job, that role. Like, my mom would never let me do it." And then he goes, "Are you lying, man?" And then he starts laughing. And all the guys in the room are like, "He's totally lying. He's totally lying." So who knows if he's telling the truth or not, if he's under an NDA. He wouldn't want to spoil that for Tom. But the rumor is that Glenn Powell's taking it over, which is hilarious because also this week, Glenn Powell had photos released of him shooting The Running Man. And he's running around like Tom Cruise.
The photos came out?
They did. They leaked from the set of him running around, which is interesting to me because the outfit he's wearing looks very Hunger Games to me. With like the vest and the jacket and the bag, and it's fine. So this trailer just seems like a greatest hits of quotes and, you know, tense music and highlights throughout the series of Ethan Hunt. So I didn't see the last one. I have to see it. I guess like everybody else was kind of just like, I'll see it eventually. And I just never got around to it. So maybe if this is the final one, going by your own marketing, John, I will have to see it because it's the last one.
I don't know that. I haven't seen all the Mission Impossible movies yet, actually. I actually don't even know if I've seen JJ's, to be honest. How dare I?
I have. I think I've seen them in the movies. Like, 'cause they were like one of those things that like you could bank that it would be a decent movie.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Like Mission Impossible, they're good, but they're not. Like I still like James Bond better than Mission Impossible.
They're entertaining.
No, they are. And what he does in these movies is just nuts.
I think that's the big thing is you go to see what stupid thing did the insurance company approve for Tom Cruise to do.
Yeah. I mean, he even did crazy things. Like in the trailer, like the 30-second mark, you see them on those planes. That's that moment that he was promoting Top Gun while standing on that.
I know, when he's just like, well, they said they were shooting that, and he's like, "See you at the movies."
Yeah, and he's just like, dude, you're standing on a plane. But all right, Tom. But yeah, it's gonna hopefully it does well, and hopefully this gives him the opportunity to do the next Top Gun, maybe. So
and let's Chris McQuarrie free up for Star Wars.
Aha, yeah.
because he's been stuck in that franchise
He has. I feel like him and Tom are just gonna like work together forever, though.
forever. Yeah.
And now we have way off my radar. I think there's 3 of these already, but Bridget Jones Mad About the Boy.
There is 3. This is the 4th one.
Oh, this is the 4th one. Okay, so I have nothing to say about this. I haven't watched a single Bridget Jones movie. This was the franchise where people were like, Renee Zellweger put on weight to play this role, and she was like the size of a normal woman. Isn't that what they did?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
She's like, day 37. I've had a donut. And you're like, I've had like 3 donuts today. Renee Zellweger. There we come. No, the big thing was that she put on weight for this role, then did Chicago, where she got super duper skinny, and then did the second one where she got big again. And the first time she did it, she explained that she did it the right way with trainers and put on weight that way. So, like you said, she looks like a normal human being, like a normal woman.
Yeah.
The second time around, she did get a little bit bigger because she didn't do it the right way, in the sense of like she just ate. She didn't like train or anything like that. So she said she had more trouble taking the weight off the second time around. So there's Bridget Jones' Diary, Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason, which is the second one, Bridget Jones' Baby, and then Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy. So this is the 4th Bridget Jones movie.
Who else is this? Is Hugh Grant in this one, or am I mixing that up with something?
So Hugh Grant's in all of them.
Okay.
The first movie is between Hugh Grant and Colin Firth, and then the second one's also about the both of them. The third one is about Colin Firth and seemingly Patrick Dempsey, and that I haven't seen that one, to be honest. And then this one is what we see in the trailer here, which is super depressing. Colin Firth's character dies. Mark Darcy, her husband, dies, and they say that in the first 10 seconds that he's dead. And then it's like kind of like her kids are grown up. They're like middle schoolers, early high school. And the premise of this movie is finding love again. So Hugh Grant's in there. I don't know if she gets back with him, but there's like a hint of like, oh, could they rekindle things since Mark Darcy is gone? Mark Darcy's been dead for 4 years, they say in the trailer. So they're like, it's been 4 years. You should go date. And it's just like her grappling with that while raising her kids and moving on with her life and then finding love again. Which is really depressing. I'm going to be honest. Like, it's not like to me, that's like not a fun rom-com. It's like he was the rom-com.
Okay.
His character.
So is this becoming more of a drama then?
I don't think so. I think it's clearly still a rom-com. The trailer's got those like beats where it's like, did it, and she's just like, what?
Yeah, true.
I'm with a young guy? What? I just had sex. What? And everyone's like, oh my goodness, Bridget. Like, it's still got that like whole vibe of
Bridget Bones.
I mean, she bones in all of them, but yeah. Will I see this? I'll see it on digital. I will not go to the movie to see it, but it makes me immensely sad that Colin Firth is not in it, or if he is in it, he's dead.
Yeah, is that shot of him at the beginning from the last movie?
I think it's her imagining he's there.
Oh, so he's in it at least for that. Yeah.
As like a vision of her moving on.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fun. It's coming out the day before Valentine's Day, so we know what they're looking for
movie.
here. Yeah. I mean,
I'll cry when I watch
around your
it.
birthday, you and Matt can do a little date night.
He would never watch this, but sure.
Just tell him James Bond's in it.
He would never.
It's a British guy in a suit. What's the difference?
The most I get from him watching stuff like this would be like Love is Blind. Like trashy,
nice.
90 Day Fiance.
Yeah.
He's not going to watch a rom-com with me.
All right.
He checks out.
All right. Cool. Not my jam, but we'll
the next
see.
one is, and the next one is not mine. So
yeah. So yeah, Beatles 64. So they did Get Back, which was, the recording of Abbey Road a couple of years ago on Disney Plus from Peter Jackson, who took that old footage and really cleaned it up and made it look like it took place today. And now you have Beatles 64 being produced by Martin Scorsese, which is about the Beatles' arrival to the United States, Beatlemania 1964, and getting a real, never before seen sort of POV inside look of what that was like experiencing that as the Beatles and what that was juxtaposed against with the Kennedy assassination. And in the trailer, you see Paul McCartney talking about that, and today talking about it. And so is Ringo, the only two surviving Beatles. But you also get snippets, actual snippets from George Harrison and John Lennon, and it looks really an immersive. I hate that word, but it really does feel like they're taking you into the Beatle experience of when they arrived in America. And I always found that interesting because my grandfather was a New York City cop, and he worked security for one of their first events, and it was an indoor event, so it wasn't like Shea Stadium. And when you're indoors, the sound is way more violent to your ears. And he said the screaming of the girls rang his head for days being in that
That's
place.
permanent hearing damage.
Yeah, and you couldn't. Well, that's why every once in a while, when rest in peace, my grandma would be like, "Joe," he'd be like, "What?"
I'm saying, like, if there's ringing in your ear, that's permanent hearing damage.
Yeah, we've all gotten that though. If you've been to a concert,
Yes, but that's the first sign of temporary.
No, not for me.
All right.
But anyway, I'm all in on this. This trailer looks incredible. I think this is going to be outstanding. It comes out, I believe, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Do your
Lovely
shopping.
family movie.
Do your shopping, watch the Beatles, a little feel-good thing here. So I'm all in on this. The trailer's fantastic, and Scorsese's producing it, and it's about the Beatles. Like,
he's in it. He's in a couple shots where he's like,
yeah. So home run for me. I know you're not a big Beatles fan, right? So
I love the Beatles.
Oh, but you're not into this? Like,
I'm not into this. I would rather watch something else, but I love their music. I grew up on the Beatles. When I was younger, I watched all their movies, which now, watching Spice World when I was older, I was like, oh, this is a ripoff of
Hard Day's Night.
Yeah. Where they have the house, where they have all the rooms in the house and stuff. So my dad was always a big Beatles guy. Beatles and Steely Dan. It's like,
oh yeah,
my dad's thing. But you know what's funny? When I hear or see Ringo Starr, you know what I think of?
Oh, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas the Tank Engine, because I used to watch that all the time when I was little. And you don't realize who it is until my dad would be like, "That's Ringo Starr," and I'd be like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, my brother was obsessed with that. You know who the other conductor was?
No, who?
Little trivia. Famous comedian.
No.
George Carlin.
George Carlin. Yes. You're right.
So you did know.
I did know. Yes. As soon as you started to say it, I realized who it was. I loved that show. I find the new versions creepy with the computer animation. Like, give me the stop motion, trains.
Oh yeah. But hearing freaking Ringo's voice, like, "Pussy's coming round the corner."
And they were like, and my favorite is when they'd about to get into an accident, they'd all be like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like,
yeah.
They'd be like, he's going along, and then it's like, oh no, there's something ahead, and then it would cut to them. They'd be like, oh, there's a cow on the track.
Thomas is driving through the octopus's garden. I love Ringo. I don't care what he says. All right, we have one more trailer to talk about, Lacey. The Amateur. You and I both forgot to watch it, so we watched it just before we hit record, and we briefly chatted about it. But what'd you think of The Amateur, coming out April 11th, starring Rami Malek, Lawrence Fishburne, John Bernthal, among others?
So I said this off air to John, so I'm going to stay true to who I am and say it here. I'm not a big Rami Malek fan. I feel like the whole Queen thing kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for him, because he's just like, okay, that sounded weird when I said it. I shouldn't have said it that way. He just doesn't seem to. The next line in my head was, he doesn't seem to rub me the right way. That wasn't right either.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
No. Anyway, he just doesn't do it for me. But this movie altogether, to me, seemed like someone was like, what if we took Morpheus and the Punisher and then put him in a movie with like an adult Home Alone and the wife dies. And also, let's grab that guy from Mindhunter that played an FBI agent and just make him the same character, but in a completely different movie with a completely different name. But he acts and looks exactly the same. Let's do that.
So you're not vibing this at all.
No, what's that guy's name? He was wonderful in Mindhunter, and I really wish they would make a third season. They
I don't know, but
won't.
you just like killed his career, so it doesn't really matter. This
No. I'm saying he's so good. So I want to be clear. What I just said just there was all the best parts of those things that they threw into big thing and mixed it around, and we're like, here's a new movie. So you have Holt McCanley, who plays Bill Tench in Mindhunter. He's like the main FBI guy that plays with Jonathan Groff, who plays Holden Ford, who are investigating serial killers. He plays this kind of like tough love military guy. He is playing that character in this movie too. Then you have John Bernthal, who's playing this kind of rough assassin guy, Punisher. He's playing it again in this movie. Then you have the guy, Lawrence Fishburne, who's playing Morpheus. Again, he's like teaching him. He's like, do it again. Point the gun at me. Learn it this way. You're not good enough. Like Matrix. It's like someone took all these best things about all these other properties and then threw it into a big pot and said, this is my new movie. And I'm sorry, I just don't buy Rami Malek as that guy.
I am in a weird place now where I'm probably going to see most of the things John Bernthal's in.
And that's fine, because I agree that there's just some actors that you're like, I'll go watch it. And trust me, everything I just said, those people are probably all amazing.
No,
They're
you don't
probably
have to
great.
be. No, you're good. You're all good. You're good.
I just feel like you were saying I was saying they were bad, and none of those people are bad
I'm
at what
just
they
joking
do.
around. You obviously didn't kill the guy's career. I think this looks good. Like, I'm not saying.
Oh, and it has Lois Lane playing Lois Lane.
Wait, Lois Lane's in this?
She's the wife.
Rachel Brosnahan?
Yeah.
No. Was that her?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I started I started falling in love with her just from those behind the scenes photos from Superman. Maybe I'm falling in love with Lois Lane though. The dark hair with the blue tint, the black hair, I mean.
Purple.
Purple?
Purple sweater.
Oh, purple sweater, yeah. Amateur looks good. I'm with you too. I'm not a big Rami Malek fan. The worst part of this trailer was at the end when it says Academy Award winner Rami Malek because he won for Freddie Mercury.
Yeah,
which
you know
never
what he
should have
won for. No.
Which I talked about last week.
And it shouldn't have won for editing either.
Yeah, why were we talking about Rami Malek last week? How'd that come up?
We're talking about Queen, how bad it was.
Yeah. Oh, biopics. That's right. We were talking about biopics. And then right after that, it says Academy Award nominee Lawrence Fishburne. It's like, how that guy hasn't gotten one, but Rami Malek is like, take a look at my statue.
He was one of those people that won that everyone was like,
And that movie won best editing too.
That's what I just said.
Oh, that's what you said.
And
You
it
cut out.
should
I'm
not.
sorry.
It should not have won for editing whatsoever.
This also, like you brought up Home Alone, but it also like felt like Saw a little bit.
Yeah.
like this guy's pretty sadistic. It depends on how like the twists go, because this movie's gonna have some sort of twist in it where this guy turns out he's like a Russian agent, and it's like No Way Out with Kevin Costner or something. So I think this is gonna be one of those movies where it really depends on what they end up doing at the end of the story for me. But it looks unique. It's not a sequel. There's good actors in it. So I will check it out. You're not going to see me in theaters a week before we go to Japan on April 11th. Less than a week before we go to Japan.
It's days.
In the theater seeing this. So I will see it when it comes out on digital, no doubt about it. But no theater for me. Sorry, John Bernthal. Still support you. But it looks decent. I'm going to check it out. I'm not saying it's going to win Oscars or anything, but it looks like it could be a fun, unique sort of action thriller type of thing. Okay, we've covered that, and now it is time to get into what we're watching.
We can never leave the house, and would just probably sit around all weekend and watch TV.
Go on.
Why don't you say what you've been watching, because we got to do the Christmas stuff.
Oh, the Christmas stuff, right?
Which
so
people have thoroughly enjoyed.
Are they enjoying that?
Yes.
We're getting feedback on that?
Yeah, people like it.
That's cool. I'm just so glad people are listening to this podcast. Just for a second, like,
Of course people are listening. Why wouldn't people?
no, but it's the 26th episode of this show, and we didn't know when we
Uh-huh.
launched this how it was going to do, and the fact that people are listening really does mean a lot.
Mhm.
But what am I watching? I finished Penguin. I thought the Penguin was one of the best series I've watched in a long time.
I've been hearing that.
I thought it was excellent. Kristen Milioti, like from start to finish, was unbelievable. Like she blew me out of the water. Like I didn't know that she had that in her, because she from what I've seen, she usually plays similar type of roles, like we've talked about. But Lauren LaFranc, the showrunner, she's going to get a lot of jobs after this, and she's probably going to win awards for this one too.
Mhm.
And this sets up the Batman 2 so nicely. It was just such a great show. So if people haven't started it yet and you saw the Batman, I definitely recommend watching this show now that we know the Batman 2 is definitely coming.
Did he
'Cause
show up?
I don't know if I should say that yet.
Oh, okay, don't. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't care, I'll tell you off there, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah. But also what I saw, oh, by the way, I'm gonna watch Magpie soon.
I really want to watch that.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch that. But I watched Superman, the Christopher Reeve story.
Oh my god, did you sob?
Oh, I watched it last night.
Did you sob?
I cried a couple times. And you know what it
Oh.
was? His son Will was 12 when he died,
Mhm.
and then his wife died 2 years later
Oh my god.
from
From,
lung
like, broken heart.
cancer, and she
Oh,
never smoked.
jeez Louise.
And so he had siblings from Christopher Reeve's first wife, so it wound up just being him. And he's now 32. He has a cameo in the new Superman movie, which he plays a reporter, and he's actually a reporter in real life. So it's
Mhm.
like he became Clark Kent. He's like, he looks like his dad too. It's like really nice to see
Oh.
him interviewed.
Mhm.
But what a story, Christopher Reeve, because I grew up watching the Superman movies in the 80s as a little kid, and I just loved Superman 2. That was like one of my favorites. Like Superman 2 and Michael Keaton's Batman were like my movies. And then I remember hearing about his accident. Now I was like 13, and I was like so devastated. I was like, 'cause
Oh.
I always thought he would come back and play Superman again, because the last time he did it was 1987, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, complete garbage movie.
Mhm.
Out of beyond his control. He even said it was bad. I always thought
Mm.
he would like come back again, and he was only 42 when he got into the accident, like the age Henry Cavill is right now.
I know.
And
Yeah.
it just everything that happened after that, and they show him trying to like fight and like the push for the research for this foundation, but it's just like it's a really good story, and like showing like the human spirit and how he always was trying to fight and all those sorts of things. And I really recommend people watching it, because it puts things into perspective for you. It also gives you a look into what Christopher Reeve was like beyond Superman, and how he went through all that stuff, and how his family backed him up. And it's just a really well done documentary. So if you get a chance, check out Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. Just, I knew it was going to be good. I was like, you can't mess that
Did they
up.
show footage of him falling?
Or
Or not really?
I don't think they showed the accident, but I could be wrong, but there might be something floating around.
Ugh, it's heartbreaking.
But yeah, it's so weird how it happened. It was just like this weird freak thing where the horse just stopped and he got launched.
Mhm.
Awful.
He
Yeah.
couldn't have changed anything. Yeah.
Yeah. But and it also shows, what their foundation has done for the progress of people who have those ailments. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but they show people today who are able to walk. And it's not directly because of Christopher Reeve, but he was one of the biggest names to push for work on stem cell research and spinal fusion, and like trying to help people
Yeah.
have an opportunity to at least have a better quality of life. And he only wound up living 10 years or 9 years after his accident. He died
Yeah.
at like 51 or something. Sad.
I mean, it's scary to show you how quickly life can just change. That's kind of the
That's another part of it too. And they he's in it a lot. Like they filmed him a lot during his post-accident. There's a lot of life perspective stuff in there that's really good to watch too. So
Wow.
yeah, I really recommend that. But I know that's, a little bit of a downer, but it is an uplifting story ultimately. Like when people watch it, you'll feel good.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's what I'm up to. I'll let people know when I get a chance to watch Magpie. I think Daisy Ridley is on fire right now, and I hope that continues into Star Wars. But Lacey, what have you been? I mean, there's other things that we'll talk about later that we've been watching, but what have you been watching this past week?
Yeah, so as you guys know, I've been watching all the Hallmark movies. We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Hot
9, 10,
Frosty.
11, 12. This is up to 12. So we're doing 10, 11, 12 right now. Believe it or not, I have watched these all. I haven't been keeping up on Twitter. I'm probably going to move the thread to another social media platform, but don't worry, I'll still be giving my reviews. That being said, all right. So what we've been doing in the past episodes that people have really enjoyed. If you're tuning out now, I'm so sorry. However, you might want to stick around because it is amusing to hear what John has to say, which is I give the title of the movie and John guesses the plot. I then tell him what the plot actually is and talk about it a little bit, and then we move on to the next one.
Okay.
All right. So this past weekend, not currently this Monday because those just aired, but the previous weekend, the first movie is called Trivia at St. Nick's. Trivia at St. Nick's
Trivia at St. Nick's
is the title of the movie.
All right. So, Ski Town, Vermont, Christmas time. There is a bar down in the village at the bottom of the mountain called St. Nick's. And this total nerdy girl who's actually good looking when she takes her glasses off meets this guy and they both compete against each other in trivia at this bar. And it gets very heated and competitive, and then they wind up falling in love. Enemies to lovers trivia style. Trivia at St. Nick's.
You're close. There is a woman who is a professor at a university, and she gets excited every year for this St. Nick's trivia tournament at the bar, St. Nick's. Yes. So she needs one more player. She was supposed to have this one guy be on the team, but then he jumps ship and goes to Japan or Asia or something to go to some type of big research thing. She has a very good looking gentleman join her team who is the new offensive coach for the football team. They do not like each other. She does not want him on the team, but then her team's like, we need one more to join the tournament. And it ends up he knows more than she thinks he knows because he knows a lot about sports. And then he learns from her. And then she eases up a bit because she was very kind of like harsh and tough and like, I know right. And then she learns to chill out a little bit.
All right. And who's our damsel in this one?
What do you mean?
Who's the lead lady?
I don't know. I've never seen her before. But she was really annoying. I liked the guy in this movie. I forget his name offhand. But he's great. He's been in a couple of them before that I've really liked. And so I'm actually going to rate this one a 6 out of 10 for him, not for her.
Wow. I'm seeing Brant Doherty and Tammin Sursak is the girl.
Is Tammin the girl? The guy is the guy that I like. He's great. The next movie features one of the main people on the Hallmark Channel, and it's called Santa Tell Me.
So is Lacey Chabert on Hallmark?
She is, but it's not Lacey Chabert.
Oh, okay. Santa Tell Me? That's what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Santa Tell Me. So
it stars... What's her name? Erin Krauko, who's one of their big stars on Hallmark. She's in their like Where Tells the Heart series that's on Sunday nights during non-Christmas times. And also stars Daniel Lissing and then other kind of heartthrobs from the channel. Benjamin Ayers, Christopher Russell, who was in the Operation Nutcracker, and then Kurt Sarka, So they all make cameos in this one. But it's called Santa Tell Me.
Santa Tell Me is about this there's a psychic like a cheap psychic, and the guy dresses up like Santa around the holidays, and this heartbroken girl goes to ask Santa if her boyfriend will get back together with her, and this psychic Santa, he's a little stinky, by the way. He tells her that he will get back together with her, so then she assumes this as fact, because she's not that bright, this one, unfortunately. And so she says, well, this is going to happen, so then there's no issue with me just forcing it. So then she begins to stalk him in a way to remind him how much she loves her. Santa, tell me.
No, not at all.
All right.
So Aaron plays a designer named Olivia, and the movie starts off with her having a childhood letter to Santa that says, I want a dollhouse wrapped in red ribbon, and I also want to know the name of my true love when the time is right. She writes this letter to Santa, gets the dollhouse, doesn't find out the name of her true love. Years later, she is a top celebrity, not celebrity, but on-air house designer doing housework and interior design, whatever, and then gets this big project that could lead to her own series. And then they bring in this other showrunner played by Daniel Lissing named Chris, who comes in, and he's behind like Model Home or something with a bunch of models, kind of like trashy TV. They bring him in to make her show more interesting. And he decides to redo her childhood home. Like that's his spin on her show. And in doing that, she comes across a letter from Santa, and Santa says, the name of your person is named Nick. So then all of a sudden, all these Nicks start showing up, which are the other heartthrobs that she's like, which one is this Nick? And then it ends up at the end of the movie, Chris's real name is Nick.
I knew you were going to say that.
It was actually pretty good. It was pretty good. I'll give it 8 out of 10. It was pretty good.
8 out of 10?
It was amusing. It was well done.
8 out of 10 for Hallmark movies, or like 8 out of 10 for movies?
This is my Hallmark scale.
Okay. All right.
I give it on the same, again, Lindsay Fonseca's number 1. So I'd say this is on par with her. Like, it was very well done. They got the best of the best on the show. Like, Erin's one of their top actresses. Chris is good. I've seen him in a bunch of things before. Although the interesting thing is Chris usually plays not Chris, his name's Daniel. Daniel Lissing usually plays these home renovation guys. Like, he always plays that guy. It's like, they're like, we have our home renovation guy. Have Daniel do it.
What else?
All right. Last one to review this week is called 'Tis the Season to Be Irish.
So stupid. Oh my god. You and I, like, we can write these movies. Like, can we get somebody, like, we'll film it right in Connecticut?
I think the rumor is that Melissa Joan Hart writes a lot of these.
Jeez, that explains it all.
But right. I would love to write one of these movies. What a dream. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
So the title is 'Tis the Season to Be Irish.
'Tis the Season to Be Irish. Am I allowed to ask one question?
Sure.
Does it take place in Ireland?
Yes.
All right. 'Tis the Season to Be Irish. Fa la 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 la.
And it is not as good as Leap Year, if you're wondering.
I didn't see
with Amy Adams. Amy Adams. Oh, it's so good.
'Tis the Season to Be Irish is about clearly an Irish man who is sort of like, the blue collar. He goes to the pub. He knows everybody, and his wife died, so he was a widower. And in this story, because of his discriminatory nature, Santa Claus never went to Ireland. So what happens is he meets this woman at the bar, and it turns out she's Santa's daughter. And she falls in love with him and convinces Santa to start delivering presents to Ireland. 'Tis the season to be Irish.
Yeah, no, that's not it. Which, by the way, I should have done this to begin with. Hallmark Channel lists what it's about on their thing, so I should totally just read these to you because it's better than what I've said.
All right, that sounds good.
So I'll come back to that. We'll start with the Irish one. So, 'tis the season to be Irish. This is their synopsis. Rose, a nomadic house flipper, heads to Ireland to renovate and sell a cottage, but her plans are upended when she meets Sean, a local realtor determined to preserve his town's heritage. As she works on the cottage and embraces Irish Christmas traditions, Rose finds herself falling for Sean and questioning her fear of settling down. Together, they must confront their past and discover if love is worth taking root.
That sounds so terrible.
It was all right. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. It was fine. So then Santa Tell Me, just really quick. When Olivia, a successful interior designer, finds an old letter from Santa promising she'll meet the love of her life by Christmas Eve, and that his name will be Nick, she's stunned to meet not one, but 3 guys named Nick. As she navigates these holiday romances, Olivia also finds herself drawn to her charming coworker, Chris, throwing her magical Christmas quest into question. With the clock ticking toward Christmas Eve, Olivia embarks on a heartwarming and humorous journey to uncover her true soulmate.
Great.
And the last one, which, by the way, this is so long, makes no sense. When students all flee an elite university in Vermont, which you said,
Oh,
for winter break, the locals and faculty hunker down for their favorite time of year, the annual Christmas bar trivia tournament.
wait, it was Vermont?
It was Vermont.
I nailed that one.
I didn't realize it was Vermont. For Celeste, a type A astrology professor, the event combines the magic of Christmas with her greatest comfort in life, knowing the right answer. But when her colleague drops out of the tournament to do a month-long lecture tour in Asia, Celeste's team must adopt Max, the football team's new offensive coordinator. To Celeste, Max seems like nothing more than a grown-up class clown, though he brings an undeniable knowledge of sports trivia. Initial clashes between the two eventually turn into mutual appreciation as the team enjoys scavenger hunts on campus, decorating the international house with Christmas lights and baking Christmas cookies.
I mean, I feel like I nailed that one. You have to give me that one. I'm like 1 for 9.
I will give you that one because you were like from the Vermont into the whole like enemies to lovers thing. You were totally right because that's what it was. Their meet cute is he's at a Christmas buffet with her, with the faculty, and he skips the like line and goes right to like the carbs at the table. Which, by the way, hilarious that they think like, oh, football coordinator, he's eating carbs. So like he skips ahead and goes to the carbs, and she goes up and she goes, excuse me, like that's not how buffets work. Like that's their meet cute.
Okay.
I was like, this is not a good meet cute. But then I think the best meet cute of the weekend was the Santa Tell Me one, because she finds out that this guy is taking over her show and she's livid. And then she goes outside to get into an Uber, gets into the Uber. It's the guy's car. And then he's like, hey, this isn't. And she's like, just take me home. I don't want to talk about it. And the guy's like, oh, what's the problem? And they don't show you who it is. And she's just like, oh, well, this guy really sucks. He's the worst. He's taking over my job. Like, I hate him so much. And then it ends up to be the guy. Like, that's their meet cute, which is a funny meet cute.
I'm all set. All right.
So coming up this week will be 3 more lovely movies, including Jingle Bell Run.
All right. Look forward to it.
No, you're not.
At least I don't have to watch this shit, you know?
Come on, it's fun to talk about, though.
All right. I want to thank everybody for listening to Nerdy Nice, watching Nerdy Nice, and being a part of our little chat here about all the fun stuff, movies, TV, pop culture. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you do subscribe to Nerdy and Nice on Apple, Spotify, or the TRB YouTube channel. And rate us. 5 stars would be nice. Leave a review. That's always cool. And spread the word. Tell your friends. There's so much stuff we talk about. There's got to be something in here that you and your friends enjoy. So please spread the word. We appreciate that. And follow us at Nerdy and Nice Pod on all the social media apps, including Blue Sky, the new hot thing taking over the universe. And for me, Johnny Hoey on Blue Sky is going to be my primary spot for these purposes anyway. And our Star Wars podcast, TRB Podcasts, also on Blue Sky and all the other social media platforms. And Lacey at Lacey Gilleran, right?
Mm-hmm.
On every single platform except TikTok.
Which is it's Lacey Gilleran.
Right.
And I guess you could say that tis the season to be nerdy, John.
In America. Jeez. I bet they even spelled it T-I-Z.
No, it was apostrophe TIS.
All right.
Tis the season.
Like it matters.
I did enjoy the scenery though, because I love Ireland. I've been there twice. It's like a dream place. If I could live somewhere with unlimited money, I might go to Ireland. Like I just love it. Oh, it's beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah, I gotta check it out.
So nice.
You gotta get yourself out to Hawaii eventually.
You keep saying that, but everything I read online is people say don't go to Hawaii. They don't want you here.
Not the experience I had.
The locals like really don't want tourists there right now. So
They like me though.
oh, word.
Yeah.
Tis the season for Hoey.
Tis the season for Melekilikimaka. It's a wise way.
I actually
to
love that song.
Yeah. It always makes me think of that scene in Christmas Vacation where he's imagining the girl from the department store and then
The pool.
and then he sees Eddie and he's like, ah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that leads us to patreon.com/TRB podcast. We have a lot of exclusive stuff for Nerdy and Nice on there, and a lot of new stuff we're working on behind the scenes too. A special thank you to our movie star generals, Carmelo, John RISI, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Dani, Mike Rumore, Brennan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Colin Cormier, Stephen Garrow, and Sachi, and the Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shah, Kendall GELNER, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the Fort Worthian, and all of our patrons and supporters. Thank you all so much. Lacey and I will be back with you next Monday with another dose of Nerdy and Nice, because we know there's constantly going to be news and stuff going on, plus stuff that we're going to be watching. Hopefully have a chance to review Magpie for you next week, and we'll go from there. Lacey, anything else before we hop out?
Nope. Just happy to be here, John.
Tis the season to be happy to be here. Thank you all so much. We hope you've cured a little bit of your Monday blues, and we'll see you next time right here on Nerdy and Nice. See you around, kids.